In the last lecture, we were dealing with Ampere's law. We also applied Ampere's law to a few systems. You must have learnt that it is easy to employ Ampere's law if the system has some kind of symmetry. For example, the system could be spherically symmetric or would have cylindrical symmetry or maybe longitudinal symmetry. If the system has any of these symmetries, then it is easy to apply Ampere's law. But most systems do not have any symmetry. So, what do we do? In that situation, we apply a law which is called Biot-Savart's law. This is applicable to any system without any problem. There is no symmetry required. And before we begin with Biot-Savart's law, let us recall Ampere's law. The Ampere's law, as you have seen in the last lecture, is the line integral of B dot d l is equal to mu 0 times the enclosed currents within the surface spanned by this loop C. Very quickly, let us apply this Ampere's law just to fix ideas. This figure shows a magnetic field pointing in the x direction. This is the x direction, this is the y direction. So, it is pointing in the x direction, but is not uniform along the y direction. You can see the field lines are not uniformly spaced. At the top and bottom of the loop, the magnetic field strengths are B 2 and B 1. So, we have a loop here and which is described clockwise, and the strength here is B 2, strength here is B 1, and its this side is equal to B. What is the current that flows through the area encircled by the loop? What is the current in this area? Let us see. The only contribution to the integral B dot d l comes from the sides of length L. This side is length L, this side is length B. See, this is perpendicular to the magnetic field, therefore, B dot d l is 0. This is also perpendicular to the magnetic field. So, B dot d l is 0. So, only contribution comes from this side and this side, both of which have length L. Since we are describing the loop clockwise, we have L times B 2 minus B 1 is equal to mu 0 I, where I is the current that we are seeking. So, I is given by L B 2 minus B 1 by mu 0, and this I is a positive quantity. So, therefore, considering that the loop is clockwise, we have to find what the positive current would be according to this loop, and you see the positive current will be out of the plane, coming out of the plane. If B 2 is less than B 1, then I becomes negative and the current would be going inside the plane. Historically, Biot-Savart's law was discovered about a decade before the Ampere's law. Both these laws give the magnetic field near steady currents, and both give the same result, and therefore, they must be equivalent. Moreover, the magnetic field due to a system of currents derived using both these laws give identical results. So, it must be remembered that Ampere's law is the analog of Gauss' law in electrostatics. I hope you remember Gauss' law. The integral of E dot d s is equal to q by epsilon 0, where q is the charge within the surface S. Incidentally, what would be the form of Gauss' law for magnetism? We have seen Gauss' law for electrostatics. What would be the form of Gauss' law for magnetism? It will be integral of B dot d s is equal to 0. Why 0? Because monopoles do not exist. We have seen that each magnet must have two poles. A single pole does not exist. Therefore, no surface can be found which encloses two kinds of poles which are not equal in strength. So, therefore, the right hand side is 0 and B dot d s is equal to 0. That means, the number of lines of force entering a surface is equal to the number of lines of force leaving the surface. It also means that magnetic field lines form closed loops which have no beginning and no end. You see, remember last time I showed you the field due to a bar magnet. and we had lines inside the bar magnet also, because we must form complete loops. Recall from the last lecture that when we use Ampere's law, we have to have a loop which encloses the currents. Biot-Savart's law is more general. It does not need any symmetry, it does not need any other thing, any loop, etc. But the Biot-Savart's law is in a differential form. Let us take a charge, positive charge q moving with velocity v, and we want to find the field at a point distance r from this charge. R cap is the unit vector in the direction of r. Then the field is given by mu 0 by 4 pi q v cross r cap by r square. You could have q v vector crossed r vector by r cube also. Some books will do that, but here we have q v vector cross r cap, which is a unit vector along r. Now, q v is I dt v and dt v is dl. Therefore, this form can be now put in this form: dB, the magnetic field at a distance r from the current element dl, where the current is in this direction, is given by mu 0 by 4 pi into I is the current, dl cross r cap is the unit vector in the direction of r, divided by r square. This is Biot-Savart's law. As before, the direction of the magnetic field is given by the cross product of dl and r cap, and you know how to get the product using the right hand screw rule. So, I will go from dl to r like this, and you can see if I go like this, then I am taking the screw out. So, the magnetic field at P would be coming out of the plane. Let us notice the resemblance between the Biot-Savart's law and the Coulomb's law. Both are inverse square laws. The magnetic field due to a current element decreases in much the same way as the electric field decreases from the source charge. These two laws also show that while static charges give us electrostatic fields, moving charges or currents give us magnetic fields. That means, there is a very intimate relationship between electric field and magnetic field. Clerk Maxwell recognized this intimate relationship. The two fields are now known as the two facets of the same entity, called the electromagnetic field. Now, electromagnetic field can be magnetic field or can be electrostatic field. Having learned the rule to find the direction of the magnetic field, let us focus on the magnitude of the field. dB is given by mu 0 by 4 pi, dl cross r cap can now be written as I dl sin theta by r squared, where theta of course is the angle between the current element and r. So, let us apply it so that the idea gets fixed. So, what we do, we take a very long current, in fact infinite long current, and find the field due to this current at the point P, which is a distance r, perpendicular distance r from the current. So, we make this structure, we have a small element dl and the distance capital R to P from dl, and this distance is L and this distance is r. So, we use now the Biot-Savart's law and find the magnetic field. So, using whatever I have explained, dB is given by mu 0 by 4 pi I dl sin theta r squared. Remember that the wire is infinitely long. Therefore, B is equal to mu 0 I by 4 pi, and therefore, I have to integrate now over dl, and this integration will be from minus infinity to plus infinity, because the wire is infinitely long, and because of symmetry I can, instead of taking limits from minus infinity to infinity, will take from 0 to infinity and multiply the result by 2. So, B is therefore given by 2 mu 0 I by 4 pi integral from 0 to infinity dl sin theta by r squared. I have the same figure again, and now we shall put sin theta in terms of r and r, and we will also put r by l in terms of the angle, and then take dl. That is how you do change the variable in integral problem. So, that is what we have done here, and now if we do all that, this integral 2 mu 0 I by 4 pi 0 to infinity sin theta cubed by r squared dl, this now reduces to 2 mu 0 I by 4 pi r integral from pi by 2 to 0 minus sin theta d theta. You see, when you change the variable on which integration is to be taken, you also have to change the limits. So, we have done that. This is little mathematics which you can do, there is no problem. Carrying out the integration now, the integral of minus sin theta is cos theta. So, and from pi by 2 to 0. So, we get this result b is equal to mu 0 I by 2 pi r. If you remember, you got the same result from Ampere's law, but there the process was much easier because we made use of symmetry. Here we did not make use of symmetry. Let us modify the same problem. Now, we have a wire which is of length 2L, that is from minus L to L. Earlier we had a wire which was from minus infinity to plus infinity, that is the difference. The rest remains the same. Therefore, we get the expression b equal to mu 0 I by 4 pi integral from minus L to L dl sin theta by r squared. Again, we shall use trigonometry and we get the result. First of all, we put sin theta equal to r by r, and r itself is r squared plus L squared. So, we do all that and we get b equal to mu 0 I r by 4 pi integral from minus L to L dl by L square plus r squared raised to power 3 by 2. And now, you can use the substitution L equal to r tan theta and integrate, and what you get is this result, b is equal to mu 0 I r by 4 pi into the quantity within brackets, which is 2 L by r squared into L squared plus r squared raised to power half. Again, we used some trigonometry and some results from integration, which I hope you are able to do. And the last equation can be written as b equal to mu 0 I by 2 pi r. You see, remember mu 0 I by 2 pi r was the field for infinite wire. So, we are writing this in this form. So, 1 by 1 plus r square by L square raised to power half, because we want to verify the earlier result. So, if we make L infinity, then this term vanishes and we get the earlier result. This is the way scientists or physicists go ahead. You must verify the results that you already know. Then you know that the extension or the work that you are doing is in the right direction. So, we get the same result that we got earlier. Let us take another example. The magnetic field at a point P on the line perpendicular to a straight current, that is, let me show you the geometry. Now, we do not have from minus L to L, we have just one line wire, and this point is not necessarily the middle point, and this angle is theta 1, this angle is theta 2, this is the current element, and this distance is r, these angles are phi 1, phi 2, and this is the point P at which we want to find the magnetic field. You see, in the last problem here, we did not find the direction, because now I have told you that the direction is given by the right hand screw rule. So, you can apply the screw rule and find the direction of the magnetic field. So, once again we have the same thing using a little trigonometry again. So, b is equal to mu 0 by 4 pi into I integral now from theta 2 to theta 1 of minus sin theta d theta. So, we integrate and we get this result. Instead of thetas, you can use phi's and you will get this result. In fact, this result is more often used, although it is equivalent to that, mu 0 I by 4 pi into sin phi 1 plus sin phi 2, where phi 1 phi 2 are these angles. So, we are not restricted to a long wire, we can have a short wire and we can find the magnetic field due to this wire at any point P on a line which is perpendicular to this. It is easy to see that for semi-infinite wire, again let us find out the result for semi-infinite wire. Semi-infinite wire is which goes from 0 to infinity, and for semi-infinite wire what happens that this phi 1 goes to pi by 2. You see semi-infinite wire in this direction, this angle goes on increasing till it becomes pi by 2 and this angle becomes 0. So, therefore, we can substitute these values and we get the result mu 0 I by 4 pi r. Let us use these semi-infinite wires, this result immediately, so that our ideas get fixed. So, we have two semi-infinite wires B and A carrying the same current I, and we have a point P which is along this wire at a distance L from this junction. So, this current in A will not contribute because they are in the same direction, this and this they are in the same direction, the cross product is 0, only this wire B will contribute. And using the result earlier, we can semi-infinite wire the result that we used earlier, just we have to put the distance equal to L and we get the result B is equal to mu 0 I by 4 pi L. That is the magnetic field at this point. You can find the direction of the field, whether it is inside going into the plane or coming out of the plane, by applying the right hand screw rule. Let us apply this to a very simple problem. This problem I have seen in some competitive examinations. So, I chose that problem. We have a square of side L and this is the structure. We want to find the current is I in all branches and we want to find the field at the center. So, these angles are 45, 45. So, apply this simple 45, 45 and the whole thing you can do easily and you get B equal to mu 0 I, that result we apply, and side R in this case is L by 2. So, we substitute R equal to L by 2, phi 1 is 45 degrees, phi 2 is 45 degrees, find the signs and plug in and you get the result. Let us now apply Biot-Savart's law to a circular current I going in this clockwise direction. It is very simple because d l cross R is simply d l R, in this case R cap. So, therefore, just d l. So, the d b is mu 0 I by 4 pi r squared d l and the integral over d l, because the I is constant, R is constant. So, simply integral over d l and integral over d l is 2 pi r. So, integral d l becomes 2 pi r and therefore, the result is B equal to mu 0 I by 2 r. You remember this result again we got using Ampere's law. So, once again we verify the same result. If there are n tightly packed loops, each loop or turn contributes to its own field. Therefore, the field due to n turns of the coil is mu 0 I n by 2 r. Mu 0 I multiply that by the number of turns and therefore, mu 0 I n by 2 r. Now, if wire is only half circular, then the integral over d l would be simply pi r. So, you will get the result. If the wire encloses an angle phi, remember phi in this case must be taken in radians. For example, 60 degrees is pi by 3 radians, 90 degrees is pi by 2 radians. So, we must express phi in terms of radians and then this simply is phi times r. So, the result therefore, the magnetic field at the center is mu 0 I by 4 pi r into phi, because phi r is the integral of d l. Let us apply this to this problem. We have these two quadrants and the current is flowing like this. Immediately this one and this one would not contribute, because the cross product of d l with r would be 0 at P. So, therefore, they do not contribute, only this quadrant and this quadrant they contribute, and we have already found the semicircle. So, quadrant is just half of that. So, the field would be the integral d l would be simply pi into radius by 2. For semicircle it was pi r, for a quadrant it is pi r by 2, and therefore, B becomes this. Now, for this radius is B, so it will be mu 0 I by 8 into 1 by B, and this radius is A. So, it will be mu 0 I by 8 into 1 by A. Now, why this minus sign? Because the field due to this is in one direction and field due to this is in the opposite direction. Therefore, the net field at P would be the difference of these two, and you can see by using the same right hand screw rule that the field net field is coming out of the plane. No, the lower arc gives a field which is going in. So, that is stronger because B is less than A. So, the field net field is going inside. Let us now calculate the magnetic field. This is very important. Magnetic field due to a loop of current of radius r at a point on its axis. We have found at the center of the loop, but on the axis now. So, the geometry is clear. We have a loop, we have a point at a distance x, and this distance is r. R cap is a unit vector shown in red, dl is the current element shown in green, and the current is going in the anticlockwise direction. That is all. And now, imagine a plane which contains dl and r cap. Now, in this plane, the angle between these two planes is this angle, which is pi by 2. This is the only problem, the only difficulty that comes in, and you have to remember that this is d l I, this is d l I, let us say, or like this, and this is r cap, and we are worried about this plane containing d l and r cap, this plane, and in this plane this angle between the two is pi by 2. Therefore, d l cross r cap simply becomes d l. If you have got this right, then you will not make any mistake. So, let me explain to you again. We have got d l, the current element, we have got r cap in this direction, and we have to look at the plane that contains this and this, that is this plane, and in that plane the angle between this and this is pi by 2. So, therefore, d l cross r cap is simply d l. The rest is just geometry. You see, now the field at the point x from the center of the loop would be given by this in this direction. Again, use d l cross r and you get in this plane, right, and this has two components, d b x and d b y. Now, if I choose another current element here, then this d b y would be in this direction and 2 d b y's would cancel. So, diametrically opposite current elements would cancel the y component of the magnetic field. So, we have to worry only about the x component of the magnetic field, that is d b cos theta, and we know theta, therefore, we can use this. So, d b x would be mu 0, this result we have already obtained, mu 0 I by 4 pi r squared d l, and the x component would be cos theta, and cos theta can be put in terms of this radius. So, r squared plus x squared is r, the magnitude of this, and therefore, cos theta is r by r squared plus x squared raised to power 3 by 2, and substitute that. The integral then, integral over phi, integral over d l is then just 2 pi r, and substitute that. So, we get b x is equal to mu 0 I by 2 r squared by r squared plus x squared raised to power 3 by 2. That is the field at this point. The direction of the field, you see, d l cross r would be in this direction as shown, and along the axis the component would be cos theta of that. So, that is the magnetic field along the axis of the loop. And you can easily see that if I put x equal to 0, we get the center of the loop and we get the earlier result. This is r cubed and this is r square. So, we will be left with 1 r. So, it will be mu 0 I by 2 r, the earlier result, and therefore, once again we verify that what we are doing is the right thing. And now, I just show you the plot of this magnetic field. I plot B by B 0, B 0 is the field at the center at x equal to 0. So, we plot the field and you see the field goes like this. It is maximum at the center and then decreases. You see, if I loop, there is a maximum at the center and then decreases as we go along the axis. And if there are n turns of the coil, you see solenoid which we were discussing last time, then the field becomes mu 0 n into I by 2 r, because each turn of the coil contributes to the magnetic field. In this lecture, you see we have concentrated on Biot-Savart's law. First we discussed the Ampere's law, and then we are now discussing Biot-Savart's law. The difference between these two is that Biot-Savart's law is differential in nature, whereas Ampere's law is integral in nature. And to apply Ampere's law, we need certain symmetry in the system. Biot's law is more general, it does not require any symmetry or such considerations. It simply you just apply the mathematical expression and you get the magnetic field. The direction, of course, you get by applying the right hand screw rule. In the next lecture, we shall continue with this, and in fact, we shall study the motion of charges in electric field first and then electric and magnetic fields together.